Hey everyone, Sarah at Nova. And before we get started this week on a very beautiful bike, you just saw the side cover on, a little shameless shilling. We did a little post a while back, but I'm going to update it. If you want some help with the bike, if you're watching this and you got a project and you're not sure how to get to it, we offer online consultation, video chat. Could be telephone, but video is a lot easier too. We bill about a half hour. So if you're interested in something like that, please message us. We'd love to help keep more old bikes on the road, even new bikes, it doesn't really matter. We'd love to talk these things through. Also, it's getting into the holiday season. We have merch. This is our Motor Rail mug, and these are available for sale on our store. You have to get your own greasy coffee stains on it yourself. This is mine. But yeah, check it out. Also, check out other things we have. We have T-shirts. We have sweatshirts. We have hats. We have all sorts of stuff. YouTube has a store. Our website has a store, novamotorcycles.com. All right. And yes, we have a calendar coming out soon. Sorry. Thank you, Todd.
This Indian.
Yep, this Indian, among other bikes, will be there. 12 months of bikes that have just been to the shop. They're all customer bikes. If you bring us a beautiful bike, you may end up in the calendar. So yeah, that will be up on the site as well. So cool. All right, on to the fun stuff. This bike is an early version of a bike that is all over the classic scene. It is a 1972 Yamaha XS2, but it is basically a Yamaha XS650. 650 parallel twin, and these are all over the place. They've made them into bobbers. These make excellent race bikes. People make them into choppers. People do all sorts of stuff with them, and also people just ride them. So a little bit about the model. Came out in, I think, late 68, 69. Came out as the XS1. 650cc parallel twin. That one had a drum front brake and kick only, no electric start. And interestingly enough, the design came from an old Horex design, which is a German company. We've worked on a couple Horexes in here. We have a video on one too if you check our archives here on YouTube. But it was a 500cc parallel twin German design engine that a Japanese company named Haas got a hold of and built it out. And basically, through mergers and acquisitions, the intellectual property ended up with Yamaha. This was Yamaha's first four-stroke, and it's kind of a funny choice because at this time, late 60s, Honda was coming out with their multi-cylinder, inline four. Kawasaki was coming out with their three-cylinder, inline triple, two-stroke, and also developing their inline fours, the Z1. So to come out with a parallel twin was interesting. But what it did is it hit the Brits right where they were the strongest. Most of the British big bikes were 650 twins. In the case of Norton, it was a 750. But parallel twins, vertical parallel cylinders, 360-degree cranks, which means the pistons rise up and down together. That was the Brit model. And the Japanese came out and said, we're going to do that, but we're going to do it better. So unlike the Brit bikes, it's a horizontally split crankcase, which helps hold the oil more. Also a little stiffer. It also has, lo and behold, an overhead camshaft, whereas the Brits were still using push rods, cams down below, push rods, complicated rocker arrangements and valve gear, heavier, slower, more things to leak, just an older design. This is overhead cam, pretty modern for its time for a production machine. It is slightly over square. That means the bore is slightly bigger than the stroke. The width of the bore is slightly bigger than the movement of the piston in it. Funnily enough, it's the same bore and stroke as the BSA A65, which was the A65 was the only Brit parallel twin to be over square rather than under square. Most of the Brit stuff was more long stroke. The stroke was moved more than it was wide. So that gives a little different characteristics. And then especially interesting and especially fun is this thing was a 5-speed gearbox. So you have most of the Brits, all the Brits at this point were 4-speed, although 72 Triumph had a 5-speed. But it was rare. It was a new thing for Triumph then. So coming out, just like Honda did when they came out with their 4-cylinder electric start, overhead cam, 5-speed gearbox bike that didn't leak oil. This was Yamaha's version of it, except, if you know anything about, if you ride motorcycles, you obviously know. But the difference between a 4-cylinder and a 2-cylinder bike is very visceral. And so 4-cylinder bikes, in my opinion, they're great, they're powerful, they're smooth, they're fun. But they don't grab you when you crack the throttle. They don't have the same off-the-line torque. So there's something about a twin that it just grabs you. This is Harley riders know this well. That torque just rips you by the seat of your pants, and it feels good. And there's something especially neat about a parallel twin that's like 650cc. This mid-size, it's light enough, you can flick it around, but it's big enough and powerful enough that it makes you feel like you're going pretty fast. This bike would do 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it's just it was really fun, really cool. So more sort of cross Atlantic or cross Pacific, because this is in Japan. This, as I said, the engine originally was a German design. They built this bike. They had only been making 2 strokes, so they put this into a frame that was pretty flimsy and didn't handle well. So while these were fun street bikes, they didn't really go around corners, and they scared a lot of people who were trying to go fast on them. So a fellow named Percy Tate, who was a Triumph factory rider, a racer, and also the Triumph factory test rider, they hired him to go to Japan and tell them how to make this thing work better. So I think that was the 74 and on models, although feel free to fact check me if you know better. And the bike started to handle a little bit better. They braced things, they made it a little beefier, and they started using bronze bushings in the swing arms instead of the plastic ones that they came with. Believe it or not, they used plastic bushings. Pretty crazy. Let's see what else to say about it. It was this one is in my mind very cute. The styling is very 70s. A little bit of sparkle in the red, but in some ways it's a little bit classic. It's got almost this 50s feel to it with the cherry red and the white. It just feels very, it's good looking. They change them every year. The model, they're generally referred to as the XS650 on the whole, but there was the XS1, the XS1B, the XS2, then it was called the TX650, and then it was called the XS650, and then even the later ones, their official designation is sort of XS1, or sorry, XSE, XSD, whatever. They go to numbers. So, funnily enough, we generally refer to them all as XS650s, but it's only a few model years where that is their official designation. Carburetor-wise, pretty normal. CV carbs, pretty normal for its time. But again, that was a new innovation at the time. And 12-volt ignition, points ignition. Sorry, 12-volt electrical system, points ignition. Nothing too fancy there. Just enough chrome to make it classy, and kind of very nice by standard style. Not too forward, not too back. Pretty normal for the 70s, but again, it holds up really well and looks cool. This bike was in here just for minor go-throughs and stuff. He had a sort of a sticky clutch, which is normal for a bike that's been sitting. I think we did some carb work. Yeah, we did some carb work. These have a way that they wear the bodies. The butterflies of the carbs inside actually wear the bodies, so you get a lot of extra air going through, and there's no real cure for it other than finding another good set. So we just sort of adjusted for it, and it should be pretty good. Oil change, some other stuff, that kind of thing. This is very much of its time as well. This is a steering damper, and it really just works as friction. It's a rod that goes through the whole front of the whole triple tree, and it pulls up on the bottom, and it pushes a disc, sort of a friction disc into a surface, and it basically slows down your movement of it. Mike Duff, who became Michelle Duff, a racer, he was part of the beginning of the use of hydraulic steering dampers, and what he says in his book, Make Haste Slowly, is that the hydraulics were such an improvement because these dampers, they only work when you don't want them to, and then once you're going fast, you actually need it, they're useless because they can't overcome the force of it, whereas hydraulic dampers actually don't do much until you really need them when they get a big push into it. So these are more scary than good for actual spirited like racing, road course riding, but they're handy on the highway. You crank them down, and you don't have to worry about too many bumps and stuff like that. So kind of cool. That was common. BSA behind us we're working on has one of these. We're actually taking it apart to fix it. It was seized. All the Brit bikes had them, and the Japanese adopted it until the hydraulic steering dampers came along. But this bike, as I said, the handling was pretty bad. So if you did want to ride it spiritedly, you'd have to do something to help stop some of the tweaks. 34 millimeter forks, nothing crazy, big enough, but not anything to write home about. And disc brake, etc. So yeah, that's about it. If you have experience with these things, chime in, let us know. Let us know your favorite ones. The earlier motors were actually a little more powerful than the later ones. I think the XS2 was the last of the more powerful ones. Different design. So it's kind of cool to see how they did change stuff. One thing that's really annoying about the whole XS650 line is that the side stands basically vary by year. Not quite, but there's, I think 76 only had 76 will only fit a 76. They're really difficult. We have a TX that's in here as well, which is a 74, and I think it has the wrong side stand on it. So kind of annoying things. But when you get into these old bikes, you have to kind of get into the year by year changes, because they can be a real pain. So if you have any fun stories about trying to figure that stuff out, chime in. And if you have any memories of riding these things fast or slow, let us know. And as usual, thank you for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And yeah.